of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Heavenly Father, we come before you at the start of this new day, giving thanks for life, for health, and the opportunity to serve through this station. We ask for your divine presence to guide us in all we do. Bless this broadcast, that it may be a source of inspiration, joy, and unity to all who tune in. Whether near or far, may our words uplift, our music heal, and our message bring light to those who need it most. We pray for our listeners, wherever they may be. Grant them strength for the day ahead, peace in their hearts, and success in all they put their hands to. Cover those traveling with your protection, and those at home with your comfort and provision. Lord, may everything we do bring honor to you and be a blessing to others. Guide our steps, bless our efforts, and let this station be a vessel of positivity and hope. In your name we pray. Amen.
Your voice, your soundtrack, your station. New Era TT
Breakfast Show.
Wake up, it's a brand new dawn. The breakfast show got the vibes turned on. From Maracas Bay to the Savannah line, let's start the day in Caribbean prime. Good vibes rolling through the air. The breakfast show, energy everywhere. We talk, we laugh, we make you think. Grab your doubles or your morning drink.
Good morning, and welcome to the breakfast show this morning, Wednesday midweek. So, I start to get in a good mood already because we're zooming towards the weekend. Of course, there's no theater on this weekend. Theater will resume the following weekend. Is it the following week? Yeah, it's the following weekend, which will be June 8th. On Sunday, June 8th, Married and Mischievous goes to Sapa for one night only, the Sunday, June 8th at 6:30 p.m. Sapa, San Fernando, Married and Mischievous is there. I mean, we are having a fantastic time doing this play, and of course, I would have said thank you to all the people who come out over the weekend at Queen's Hall. Fantastic crowd that came out. So causing drama all around the Savannah. There was traffic. There were so many people coming into Queen's Hall. So thank you so much for attending theater and supporting theater. So San Fernando, you're getting it at Sapa, one night only, Sunday, June 8th. Tickets go on sale, I believe, from tomorrow at all usual outlets. And of course, the box office at Sapa opens from Monday morning. So you will be informed accordingly. Let you all know. Of course, it's a short week because we have a holiday on Friday, Indian Arrival Day. So tomorrow is like Friday in a kind of way. So the weekend kind of begins tonight at a second after midnight, just in case you didn't know. So good morning to our listeners and viewers wherever you are across the planet, to those of you Trinidad and Tobago, up the Caribbean, and those of you wherever you are across the planet, and we know you are all over the planet. Over to my co-host, a special good morning to Wendell, Stephen, and Sir Charles.
Good morning, Sir Charles. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And good morning, listeners and viewers all over the globe. It's an absolutely beautiful Wednesday morning. It looks like it'll be a nice day. I hope it is a nice day. But here, guess what? We're in the land of the living. We give God, Almighty God, thanks and praise. And we hope you have a wonderful and productive day, whatever you're doing today. We hope that it's a success. We're here for you every morning. It's been tough sometimes, especially when you do like me and you hardly get sleep and you're waking up all ridiculous hours and can't go back to sleep. Trust me, it's been tough. But we're here. We're happy to be here, Our guest today, of course, is Acting Assistant Superintendent Avril Francis of the Victim and Witness Support Unit, and she will talk about some things that the TTPS have been doing successfully, especially with children, minor children, and minors. I shouldn't say minor children, minors.
Yeah. But I know there was a 32% decline on sex crimes against minors.
Yes.
So I suppose Avril can weigh in on that. Mm-hmm. Officer Francis can weigh in on that.
Officer Francis, yes.
Yeah, saying Avril, she's my friend. Officer Francis can weigh in on that, and weigh in on what they did. What are they doing right? What strategies are they using? And because it is a success story, that the TTPS should celebrate. And are there other success stories in the waiting in the wings? We could try and find out all of that too.
But I guess a lot of people too would want to know what exactly would the Victim and Witness Support Unit do? Who do they cater for? Things like that we're going to find out from Miss Francis this morning. From ASP Francis this morning. Things like that. Because I don't know that everyone knows exactly about this unit and what they actually do. You know what I mean? I know that you hear from time to time when a crime is committed in a household or whatever, they reach out to the like if there was a murder, they reach out to the survivors and so on, and they do counseling and things like that. I think that's a part of what they do, when people are traumatized and so on. So we will hear from ASP Francis in the next hour. All right. So.
All right.
What do we have as good news today?
Well, we have some good news, and I think this will be helpful for specifically. This is, I think, a very uplifting video, and I think it's particularly uplifting for people like you, Wendell, Sir Charles, and Zena. Let's get into the good news.
See our leaders racing down the front in lane 6. That's Ed Cox. And in lane 9, Donald Erickson. And the race behind between Golding in 3 and Champ Goldie in 4. And here comes the crowd into it now as Champ Goldie gets across the line.
What a great thing to still be moving at age 100 and age 99 years old.
Well, you've got athletes on the infield cheering for these folks. Everyone on their feet upstairs in the stands. Ida Keeling at 100 years old.
That ought to be Zena in the
At
black.
the finish line, she's across the finish line in the Masters 100 meters. And at 100 years old, that is a winner.
So isn't that wonderful good news that no matter what your age, you can still be mobile? You know, a lot of times people think old age, oh my God, I can't do what I can do anymore. And sometimes you can't. And you know, a lot of people have problems walking and whatever. And there you have 100 years old in 100 meters, you know, completing it. So I'd say, you know, that's uplifting about, you know, the human spirit and the ability to move at 100, that you could do a 100 meters at your own pace, but do it.
But the red hat gave Zena away though. The red hat gave her away this morning.
Oh my word.
Oh, morning, my darling Zena.
Zena must be going, what do you have with me?
Oh my God.
But that was very nice.
Yeah, so you know,
Even seniors,
yeah,
extreme seniors that I told. That reminds me of Granny Lucia. Is Granny Lucia still around?
Yeah. No, she passed away.
no, she passed away. That's what I know.
Yeah, she passed
Oh,
away.
okay.
Yeah, but we have still have some people doing a great job on at moving on. But Richard, you were convinced that we'll beat aging one day.
Yeah.
You champion that cause.
Yeah. Well, I don't champion it personally because I don't have the money to do the research. But I know there are billions of dollars being poured into conquering aging, and that aging is now seen by science, a lot of science, as a disease. And how do you conquer it? And I'm sure that man, as persistent as man is, they will eventually conquer aging. There's actually a guy right now who lives on a very strict diet and a strict supplement regimen and exercise, a very strict routine. Of course, he's a millionaire, multi-millionaire, and he's trying to prove that you could live forever by science. So he's
by science, not by divine intervention. Because you know there are people who feel there's a belief system that you will have an eternal life. Okay.
Right. I'm just giving
Did he go silent at me? Did you turn up your eyes at me?
I'm just giving you a pause. I was giving a pause to let that pass and then get back to the conversation.
Wasn't he an acolyte in the church or something like that?
He was.
What did the church do him so?
About science and letting science, and whether science can actually do it. But he's doing an experiment basically on himself.
Right.
But there is a lot of research into how you can reverse aging, how they can reverse aging, how they can stop aging, and how they can definitely extend the lifespan. There are many scientists believe that you can. Remember, man is not the oldest living organism on the planet.
Right.
You have trees that are thousands of years old.
Correct. You're very correct.
So you have examples of life that has very, very long lifespans. And so they're saying that why can't you do it for humans? But that's, you know, that's another discussion. But this is about people who are living to their fullest, no matter what age, and why mobility and exercise is so important, you know, as you grow older. It's also a good preventative part of a preventative thing for things like Alzheimer's and stuff. Exercise,
yes,
especially weight training of some sort. All of those things are really good buffers in terms of living a healthy life as you get older.
But I have already pledged most of my body to science so that they can use it, reuse it. You know,
well, this is about another silence.
No. I've decided I'm going to do that because there are lots of parts of me that can be used by people at some point in time. You know, they're already using it, so they might as well get it after I'm gone. Have you ever seen the movie Get Out? Have you ever? So Charles, have you ever looked at the movie?
No, I don't think I have.
Go and watch it. Look at the movie. Richard, you've seen it, huh? Get Out. Okay, well, that's. I mean, It's about that, and about using body parts of fit. Well, and in that case, in that particular movie, it's fit black people, to help elderly Caucasian people. That's what it was used for.
What?
So I'm doing that. So if you're here and you're listening, and at some point in time you want a body part, when I'm past, of course, they're not now, eh? if you have to get it now, you know what you have to do, right? So, or you have to go through, right? So, that's the case. Let me do some greetings.
I think you should.
I feel like, you know what? I feel like putting up a bacchanal video that will get people vexed so they could recover.
Put it up.
That's great, yeah. I want to see your best great.
Sir, you came to make a report?
I with my
You
nephew.
came to make a report?
I with my nephew.
You came to make a report?
I am with my nephew.
Did you come to make a report?
I am with my
To
nephew.
do what?
I
To
am
do
here
what?
to support him.
To support him.
Yeah.
This is not a support group.
Okay.
You could please exit the station, please.
You can't tell me exit.
Yes,
from
I
this.
can.
How?
Could you exit the
How?
station, please?
How you can tell me to exit? Why?
You could exit the
Why would you
station,
want me to
please.
exit?
I don't know.
Station was
What
that?
madness is this? This is St. Joseph again?
This is not a support group.
Is this St. Joseph again?
I don't mean to laugh at my laughing, but I don't know what station it is. There's more to the video.
Somebody tell us what station is that?
I didn't want. I didn't play the rest of the video, but because I know we have to get to our. And I know we are very
Police put the man out the station.
I know we are very time efficient, but
Hey, watch now.
but after he has that conversation with the policeman, if you want to watch the whole video, the policeman goes back into the main station, right behind.
Right.
So he comes
Charge
to the
you.
counter. So he comes to the counter. No, he's still recording, but the phone is down. So you just see the arms of the people. Right? You see the arms of the people. Put my hands up. You see the arms of the people. You're not seeing them at all. You just see it.
Right.
So
I wonder why they put out the man. The man. I wonder if he was abusive. If he wasn't properly dressed.
No, so the man is saying, "Well, here, I am trying to I accompanied my nephew who is here, and you know what the police officer is saying, and you see how he's getting on. Let's see how he's getting on." And one of the arms says, "I ain't hear nothing. I was on the phone."
I want a part of that.
He will not be out. He can't come to the
Yeah.
victim and
So
witness
he
support.
said, "I ain't hear nothing. I was on the phone." And the other one now, all you see is the arm is somehow fiddling with a pen. So you just see them trying to fix this pen.
TTPS.
I watched that video. I lied. I watched that video about 5 times, and I laugh and I laugh and I laugh. I know the man is upset, but I am laughing at the incidental things taking place.
Okay.
I hear nothing. I on the phone, and which is stock police response.
Yeah, don't call me
And yeah, don't drag me into the bacchanal. And this other person dealing with this pen while this man, is explaining, he's pouring his hands up. And he taping and it continues there, and the one same officer says, "And he taping, he recording. Are you recording, sir?"
What does the police have about recordings?
I don't know. So we will take a vote eventually on whether I should play the whole video or not. But we have
There's
to
another video you have to play too. It's 24 minutes long, but all we need is about the first few minutes.
I don't know what video that is, but
A video from about 300 years ago with a young man. Did that surprise you, Richard?
oh,
Did that video surprise you?
no, I look the same.
I do too. We're not talking about you. Morning, Jason. I don't know how Jason is finding these things.
Oh, good.
Anyway, let me do my greetings. Happy birthday to anyone who's celebrating a birthday today. I do have a list, but it's too long to go through. So Suzanne Jessup, you need to go and sleep.
But he both face.
Suzanne messaged us 9:14 last night, and then
Yeah.
11:59. She not sleeping, and then 12:02.
Yeah.
That's a span of what, 5 hours of no sleep?
But leave the woman alone. Why you marking the woman's business?
Anyway, morning,
You
Suzanne.
can't
my
sleep
dear.
more than anybody else.
Our number one fan, Suzanne Jessup. Good
She
morning
is,
from
yeah.
Suzanne, Suzette, and Mrs. Gemma.
But
Anthony
she's one
Tinto.
of.
Huh?
I said she's one of our top guys.
Yeah. Anthony Tinto, Brennan Smith. Is he back in Tobago? I don't know. He says he's from, okay, he's going back to Tobago. Erica Charles, Melissa from Charflair, Marlon Motley. Is Marlon Motley from Arima too, Richard?
No, he's not from Arima. He's from the east, though.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Boy,
good morning, Marlon.
Huh?
Good morning, Marlon.
Yeah. Boy Bidesi from Debe, morning boy. Magic. Robert Taylor from Fernandina Beach, now in Arima. He said, good morning, guys. When did I got to bring my Arima posse to Rumbox? Robert was there yesterday, but like he went back. Chris Tusa, it's a wet day in DC. Claire Lendor Rollins, who's a new name from Tableland. Cheryl Seeley says, good morning. Ingrid from Tucson, Arizona, again, a number one fan.
Good
Valerie
morning, Ingrid.
Mendoza from Dabadi.
Another one, too.
Sherwin Kerr from, I think he's from Arima too, eh? I think so.
Yes, yes.
Richard Jemmett saying hi from Rio Claro, from his mom, Josephine, also.
Yeah. Good morning, Josephine.
All right. New Era TT Radio. The boss says, please be respectful to others. So that's for the people in the chat who, of course, go off on a tangent sometimes. You know who you are. Carol Guevara, good morning, all. Happy hump day. David Ware says, good morning from Diego Martin, from Cheryl and himself.
Good
Cheryl
morning.
Johnson says, blessed morning. Marcia Rock from Orlando. Brent Hackshaw, Wendy and James from Aranguez, I think. Lambert Bruce says, good morning. Odell Guy, Richard Jeremiah, Frank Clark, I think that's a new name. Neil Francois, Trinidad Margot, Annie Bunyan. Morning, Annie.
Good morning, Neil.
Rena Jennings from Pity Valley, Trinidad Margot. Nice tune. Frank Clark says he is a Trinidadian living in Barbados, and he's been a fan.
Good morning, Annie.
14. All right. That's Frank Clark. There's that. TJ from New York says good morning. Joyce Phillip Evans David. Wayne Ramsey from Fort Lauderdale. Apollonus says good morning. Sir Charles and Wendell. Where's Richard Apollonus? You have something against Richard? Oh, is that one? We don't do it so, yeah, you know. Ava Smith, Ozzy Molino, Ron DeSantis Jr. from Norfolk, Virginia. Andre Reno, Julia Batiste, Michael Robinson from Yokohama, Japan. Miguel Gonzalez, Pearl Cordy's, Diane Payne. Woo! I tell you, one of these mornings we'll be greeting people and then stop, you know. Good morning, gentlemen. This is Island Girl. Please, what? Richard is so... Richard is so what? Romantic says wonderful Wednesday morning. Carol, okay. Island Girl, okay. Ron DeSantis, okay. Who else is new there? Ann Noel is new. Alistair Hart is also new. The Hulk is also new. Margaret Thomas says blessed morning. Trini gets fit, slick money grip, and Lennox Francois and DL. Okay, that's it.
Okay, let me just add some people to your list there on the WhatsApp. So let me say good morning to Lance, to Alice out there in Brooklyn, to Gail, Deborah, Larry, good day to you. Shanti, C. Paul, to Kent, Terry Ann Peters, Carlin out there in Carenage, Judy Davis, and of course, Mark, Mr. Beeps. Good morning to all you people.
Mm-hmm. All right, those are our greetings thus far. I'm predicting a morning that we'll go straight into 7 o'clock. But it might be good. It's nice that people are also including where they are from, so we get a kind of perspective of our listeners all over. You know?
That's really nice.
Yeah. So continue to do that, all right? Then our transfer is from Baltimore, all right? So look at that. You have people all over the world, man. You had somebody from Dubai or Qatar somewhere the other day, remember?
Baghdad.
Baghdad. It's Baghdad. You're so correct. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So you aging well to yourself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's do our headlines and then we could take some calls, of course.
But before we do the headlines, it have some bacchanal stories I want to get to.
Stories, man. Bring the bacchanal.
I can imagine.
So apparently, the bacchanal in the PNM continues part 75. And I said the bacchanal, let me be clear when there's my mic not making no noise and nothing this morning, right?
No, it's something good. Actually, I could do some maintenance yesterday.
Let me be very clear. There is bacchanal in the
Oh,
PNM.
we're very happy for that.
Episode 75. So apparently there's a group in the PNM called Change Makers. So the group of People's National Movement members anonymously titled Change Makers 2025 who are dissatisfied with the decisions taken by the party's leadership continue to issue press statements critical of key PNM office holders, including opposition leader Penelope Beckles-Robinson. I find a lot of times they just put Penelope Beckles. Is she no longer married?
Well, I think that's a media thing, because I see that too, and they say they interchange it.
Okay, because I always find, isn't she married? Why don't put the surname? Anyway, the change makers criticized Beckles when they said remained silent on major issues. Kamla Prasad Besessa insults officials daily, and Penny's response: leadership with a gentle touch. That's not leadership, that's abdication. The people are tired of stick fighting antics, coconut cutting photo ops, and empty rhetoric. We want bold, forward-looking, pragmatic leadership, the group said in a statement issued on Sunday night. I tell you, bacchanal, I thought I was joking. Penelope Beckles-Robinson's decision to appoint two defeated candidates from the 2025 general election, and one who failed to get a nomination prior to dropping out as PNM senators, is more than questionable. It is a betrayal of the very message sent by over 100,000 disenchanted PNM voters who either stayed home or voted against the party, it added. The change makers were referring to Foster Cummings and Faris Al-Rawi as the defeated candidates and Avery Brown as the person who dropped out of the race for Digger Martin West candidacy. Let us be clear, not because the UNC does it means the PNM should. Leadership demands moral clarity, not mimicry. And the argument that Dr. Rowley did the same is no excuse for continuing a broken tradition. This is a moment to break with the old politics, not double down on it. The Senate must never become a rehabilitation center for political failures. While we commend the inclusion of two promising young lawyers, Janelle John Bates? Is that
yes, Janelle John Bates.
And Miss Melanie Roberts Ragland, this glimmer of progress is overshadowed by the return of individuals who were soundly rejected by the electorate. The release said, we must address the most foolish narrative currently being peddled that these individuals are needed because they bring experience. Since when did failure become the currency of qualification? A movement of over 100,000 members must surely contain fresher, brighter minds with the integrity and vision required to contribute to national development. The global political landscape shows that renewed and generational transition are necessary for party survival. Hope you're listening, Wendell. Are you listening clearly?
I am, but I mean, I'm not as strong in my opinion as that, but I express those sentiments very early o'clock.
Look no further than the UK's Labour revival under Keir Starmer or France's political reshuffling. Leaders must read the moment and adapt. Penny has misread the room and is marching the PNM down a path of prolonged irrelevance in opposition, the Changemakers says. Let's be blunt. They weren't been blunt before. This is not leadership. It's survivalism masquerading as strategy. Commenting on the Senate lineup, the Changemaker said, did we need more lawyers? Where is the diversity of skills, thought, and representation? Outside of Senator Dan Paul, there is no clear evidence of an opposition prepared to lead. Oh, that was a Bacchanal article that I felt a great desire to read this morning.
Yes.
Because I know Wendell wanted to hear it.
What is the name of the group, Richard?
The Changemakers.
But who are they? Who are any names surfacing, or they hiding behind a screen?
I just read the entire article.
No, but
I just read the entire article. What kind of question is that?
I know it.
I am not part of the Changemakers. I wouldn't know that.
Who are in the Changemakers?
I just read a Bacchanal article in the papers.
Who is the head of the Wendell? Who are in the Changemakers?
I have no idea who that is.
It might be Wendell.
I was asking the same question too. Just know that I am not part of it.
Well, all right.
I give my opinions independently.
So why is that if they are part of the thing, they can't say who they are? Why are they hiding behind faces?
Bacchanal, yes.
Because
it will all play out on June 22nd is the voting, and 29th I think is the convention. So you'll know that. At least you'll know by actually next week, because you'll know who are the candidates who contest in the various positions in the party. All the positions in the party will open up for election. So you'll get a fair idea.
Yeah, but they should have somebody who signed a release when there.
No release. You know that? There ain't gonna be no release.
So the papers put in thing and nobody to quote it to say
that so the papers go like Bacchanal? The papers go have a Richard Raguba singing right waiting.
We want to know. I will ask Zina. Zina might know.
Oh gosh.
Oh my God. Hey, but yeah, but
have Richard Riley waiting to read it. Listen, this I'm telling you all. This happened in 2010. People seem to forget. It happened in 2010. And when I listened to all how 2010 went, when I listened to it back then, God rest his soul, from Martin Joseph, the same thing has happened now. Okay, the PNM will, because of the institutional strength of the PNM, they're going to survive. I don't know how they're going to deal with it this wrong. I know how it was dealt with back then. I don't know how they're going to deal with it this wrong. Wendell Stephen is not going to be playing the kind of part that he played back then. I can guarantee you that. I am not going to be playing that kind of part again. All right?
All right.
Let's know that.
Let's get our headlines.
All right. Let's go. Huh? Oh, but he was doing headlines, and he
was the headline? Oh. He went into the story.
Yes. I noticed he leaving Jack Dew sing the Speaker of the House alone though, but I ain't gonna chain him up just yet.
Okay, all right.
Headlines. Richard, do the rest of the headlines.
Yeah, that was my headline. That was inside the papers. I dig for that one.
Well, what's the time? Come on.
You finish all the headlines?
Just so.
You get confused,
like what happened here? Come on, you finish your race on.
You get confused.
Nah, I get confused. But anyway, let me go to the headline. That's not a headline. Let me be clear. That's not a headline.
That was just Bacchanal.
I was in the papers. I went searching for it. I didn't go searching for it. I came upon it accidentally and fortuitously. And There's also another article that says Penny awaits her fate. PNM leadership countdown. So apparently,
But that's what I say. That will all depend on that leadership.
And there's also another one. They dedicated 2 pages to PNM Bacchanal. Disquiet over new PNM Tobago senator. There's also Bacchanal with that too. But it's too much Bacchanal taking it PNM. It's not a PNM show this morning. So the Trinidad and Tobago Daily Express for today.
Hold on. Which do you mean the Maureen, the Melanie?
Yes. There's a Bacchanal about consultation with Tobago Council and all of that.
But she was a PDP member, you know.
I just given the Bacchanal. I'm not getting involved.
Watson Duke was on television last night taking credit for her. He said, my children are learning well. He meant her and Farley, they are succeeding. So he taking the credit for it. You believe that? Watson taking the credit for Farley and Melanie.
Yes. Well, you have to find something to keep him relevant, you know.
What's that trip, yes?
All right.
Headlines.
Yes, let's get back to the headlines, please. So the Daily Express for this morning. A fatal mistake. Worker gunned down in botched murder attempt on South businessman.
That's a crazy story, yeah?
Huh?
That's a crazy story, yeah?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So there's a picture of the vehicle, etc. And on the back page, Zwade's last goal football send-off for murdered teenager. So that's the main story on the Daily Express back page, and of course we'll treat that as the sports story because it is sports related in a sort of way. Sammy West Indies ready for England, and Shepherd's RCB clinched thrilling 6-wicket win over Puran's LSG. All of that is on the front page of the Daily on the back page and sports pages of the Daily Express. The Guardian for today: cops duck work. Homeland Security Minister calls on officers to stop abusing sick leave. Young footballer laid to rest. That's also on the front page. WASA staff express relief after meeting with Padarath, and man stabbed to death by female partner. That's a very sad story. They quarreled apparently over a noisy fan, and he was stabbed by, well, it seems the significant other. That seems to be the inference. I don't want to say anything beyond that. And they have like 3 young girls, you know. And one of the
happened.
This happened in where this happened. You forced me to go into the story.
No, and I don't know this story. I didn't hear that story on news last night at all.
Yeah.
It's there.
It's a story it was very sad, very sad. Fight over fan ends in fatal stabbing. That's the story.
A fan,
yeah. An alcohol-fueled argument over a noisy fan led to a violent outburst in which a female relative fatally stabbed 33-year-old Karen Phillip at his Claxton Bay home early yesterday morning. Philip, a mason of Diamond Village, Claxton Bay, was stabbed once in the abdomen with a knife. Initial reports stated that on Monday night he was drinking and liming with relatives in celebration of his brother's birthday. Around 1 a.m., Philip returned home, which is located next door, and got into an argument with a 36-year-old female relative over the noisy fan in the bedroom. He slapped her and they began scuffling, during which she allegedly grabbed a knife and stabbed him. Philip's 10-year-old daughter ran to a relative's house, for assistance. Eventually, the police and ambulance arrived, and he was taken to the San Fernando General Hospital, where he died around 1:30 a.m. You know, that's very tragic and sad story.
Yeah. It's almost similar to the one the other day with the child stabbing the man who was beating his mother. In a kind of way.
In a kind of tragic things like happening in households. Anyway. Jamaica whips soca warriors. Oh my God. That's the opposite of good news. And no offense, Jamaicans watching. And that's it for the front and the back of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. The Newsday for today. Case against man accused of shooting at police collapses. Alexander and 3 cops discredited. That's a case that was made in news yesterday. Tears for Zwade. Amir Bethelemy weeps over the coffin of his cousin on Tuesday during a funeral at Constantine Park in Macoya. Alain, an aspiring footballer, was shot dead outside his home. Murdered youth footballer laid to rest. Of course, that's the accompanying photograph. On the back page, TT conceded 2 spot kicks in Unity Cup loss. Warriors pay the penalty. And TT looks the Indian first deaf cricket T20. So that's it for our 3 dailies this morning. So now you know, and now we can open up our lines.
Yeah, and of course we have our first visually impaired senator on the independent bench, and we are seeking to get an interview with her, courtesy Sir Charles, of course. What's her name, Sir Charles? Senator? What's the senator's name, Sir Charles? Is he there?
Yeah. I'm here. I'm trying to remember it because I'm not getting familiar with it. I have to go back in my notes.
Yeah, that's all right. But we have our first, as I say, first visually impaired senator in the parliament. And we will be speaking with her very soon. Next week, God willing, because tomorrow is the last day of the week. We will have a chat with the visually impaired senator. All right. So let me just say some other greetings first before we get into the calls. Andrew Joseph says good morning. Anne Noel says she's always locked on from Oshawa, Ontario. Ray from West Palm Beach. Carlisle Cupid. Robert Harper from St. Anne's. Diane Payne, Lauren, Graham Corby, and Cheryl M. And Mrs. R, of course, joined us. All right. So let's take some calls, huh?
Yes, we can take the call. And Senator Alicia Lalit.
Lalit, that's her name, Alicia Lalit.
Yeah.
Right. So Senator Alicia Lalit will join us at a date to be announced, right?
Yes, we are. Yes. So good morning to you, caller.
Good morning, Sir Charles.
Morning, Zena.
Good morning, Richard and Wendell.
Good morning, number 19.
Yes, you think I wasn't hearing you. You so think I sleep and I watch it. And I watch you and I hear you. Yes, that's me, the red hat.
You were number 19.
And when I look at the messages, CJ only a whole line of laughter, and then my phone flashing, calling your name. I say, see, she loving the nonsense this early morning.
As soon as I see CJ in a race too, you know, but she got around early. You're not down in front.
They put him in his place.
Anyhow, that does the change makers, what you're telling me about. I myself wondering who they are.
Yes.
I feel they could be brave enough to come out, and if only half a group come out and say who lead in the group.
Yeah, if there's a pressure group come out.
Elections, it will be revealed. I suspect in the internal elections, you'll find out who they are.
Oh gosh. All right. The time's short.
Okay. Thanks very much, Zena. Yeah, man. Come out and say who you are.
Morning, Sherma Paul. And good morning, Sherma Wilson. I didn't see you all here for me in a little while. Good morning, my dear.
Caller, good morning to you. Hello, caller. All right. Did I take the caller or not?
Yeah.
Hello, good morning to you, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen. Norfolk, Virginia, front and center. I want to say it is so refreshing to find a program in Trinidad, when I say a program like this forum here, where you're not hearing the usual blah, 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 UNC bad, P&M good, UNC bad, that kind of thing, you know. You have some balance. We may have biases as human beings, and that's understandable, but still, justified or not. Hey, Richard's face, man. Wendell, that calypso from Maestro came to mind when you said you were bionic. I don't know, you guys old enough to remember it, you know, but Maestro's calypso came to mind immediately when he wanted to contribute his, when he passes on
Yes,
contribute his
sparks.
body towards science. And I just did look at Richard's face, man. That good thing I wasn't driving yet, boy. I'll definitely either get a ticket or run off the road. But but after being facetious here, let me tell you something. The environment has become so toxic, gentlemen, so toxic politically, not just in Trinidad, but even in the United States, that you have the sycophants out there who, listen, sometimes here in the US, well, at least in some cities, when you send something to a newspaper, right, they need to know who it is, how to contact you, or whatever to verify, right? But I can see both sides of the situation. But guess what? Wendell, I have to correct you. The base is going to determine. That election coming up, there's big questions about it. And I already said about it, so I don't want to regurgitate. But anyway, before I leave you, but 100,000, remember Sparrow's Calypso, 100,000 Frenchmen can't be wrong. 100,000 PNM voters cannot be wrong. And it's the base who will determine it, whether they turn up or not. So PNM, get your act together. Anyway, guys, have a great day.
Take care. You know what's interesting though? Sorry, Richard. You know what's interesting about what Richard read just now, though? Richard read an article he saw in the papers about PNM Bacchanal. Did I have a problem with it? No. You know, if he had read a story about Jagdeep Singh, about any other thing in the UNC, you know, somebody would have been on this chat ball, you know, all your fishing and PNM will stay in a position for so many years and all that, and trying to dictate the programming.
You're probably right.
Yeah, I am right. But they're very quiet this morning.
But you know, in honor of the Bacchanal and courtesy AI, change makers, a song for you.
We walk the road with banners high. We walk the road with banners high. Dreams of victory kiss the sky. But now the echoes start to fade. The change makers left the trade. Who picks the pieces when they fall? Who hears the whispers in the hole? The change makers call out the game. But the fire they lit feels tame. The Senate doors, they creak and groan. Voices silenced by the tone. Choices made behind the veil. A party ship begins to sail. Who picks the pieces when they fall? Who hears the whispers in the hole? The change makers
get an anthem from you, Richard.
But the fire they lit feels tame. Fingers point.
That's a little bit change makers and the anthem there, boy.
Are you realizing how important song is now?
It sounded good, huh?
Kola, good morning to you.
Good morning, Sir Charles, Richard, and Wendell. Yes, Wendell, I do sleep, eh? Talk about over 5 minutes.
40 minutes, please.
No, I do sleep.
Yeah.
With that type of topic, I said, wait, let me see what's going on. You know, I don't go and and see what's going on for today. So I want to say, gentlemen, thank you all so much. I played the advertisement there were mocks. I just love how Richard do the voiceover for it. It's really, really intriguing. They can't take no search out for everything together and think to it. So
No. It's all Richard's work right now.
Susan?
Hi, sorry. Yes?
You know, come back from jogging or what?
Me? No, I'm walking to work.
Oh, because I hear
I could listen and that not stopping me from listening to you all. I walk in and I listening to you all.
All right. Okay, good. I can't get any fatigue or what to take it.
All right, Susie,
So,
take care.
gentlemen, you have a blessed one.
And have a safe one as you go.
Thank you, you too.
Yeah, listen to Susie breathing there.
Of course, we can take a couple more calls and then we'll do a poll, of course.
Yeah, you have a poll?
Well, should the change makers reveal themselves?
Yes. Let the change makers reveal themselves.
I had a poll, you know. I made up. What poll I had?
Why they make up your mind? Let me take the call. Caller, morning.
I was kind of trying to listen Francis.
Morning, Mr. Grant.
Morning.
How you going on? I'm Mr. Richard, Mr. Charles.
Morning.
Yeah, Wendell.
Sir?
I following that thing. You know me, I was on the update. You see the shooting business? I'm going to tell you something now. When those Shady was hanged, the wife put out a statement. She said a lot of people have money owing his father, owing his husband. And they figure because he's dead, they ain't paid. You put him out, Uncle Carrie, and them fellas and them, those Shady die. They go shoot those down. I leave you to think about that.
All right.
Okay, thanks very much, Mr. Grant.
That's a little far back, though, to connect Dolce to what's happening now. That's a little far back. We have plenty,
Good morning to Slick Money Group.
But just in case the people, listen, these years at the UNC, these weeks, these days, they go real back and trust me, we are going to be talking about it. If you know me, if I alone have to talk about it, I'll talk about it.
Yeah. Right now, they seem to be keeping out of the back. Like everybody kind of busy working because I'm watching the news last night and the first 3 or 4 stories and I say nothing about the government.
Yeah. Mostly about the killings and
mostly about the crime and that sort of thing.
Yeah, crime.
Then right now they're not really news making.
Yeah.
Which might be
some people in the media are not letting go that Jack Dale Singh being appointed as speaker. Yeah? Some people in social media are not leaving that alone. Eh? It's coming up all the time,
Okay, so let's take this call and while you guys deliberate on the poll. Morning, caller.
Hi, good morning, guys. This call is to answer Far Rockaway from yesterday. So I didn't get a chance to call back.
From yesterday?
When he made that comment about for 10 years, everybody silent and nobody has said nothing. And I noticed even on Facebook and thing, that's the comeback for any time somebody raised something. For 9.5 years, he didn't say anything. He wasn't listening to the program. I called him many times. My 3 children finished university and could have gone right there because I live 5 minutes away from it. I even called and told you how much hundreds of thousands of dollars I paid in rent for my daughter. And that it was $3,200 for a 1-bedroom studio. It was even a member of parliament back then we rented from.
Yeah. So that is reverse psychology by some people to get you to change topic or to not bad talk the government of the day. Because we were on radio for the last 9 years and we raised several issues and callers raised several issues concerning PNM misgivings or whatever. You understand? But they're trying now to tell us, don't talk about the UNC. They now come into power. PNM was there all the time and you didn't say nothing. Hogwash.
Yeah.
Let's not
how much times I argue about that St. Joseph School? How much times I raised that issue?
Yeah.
And with no less people than
they didn't notice during the election, it was Rowley didn't open the UWI campus. And you notice it right after election, it shifted to UWI.
Yeah.
Because I think it was if I read papers every day. I remember reading that it was given to UWI to organize.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. But anyway, Far Rockaway, get your facts straight. The public have been calling, asking for it to be open because it would have saved me a ton of money.
Yeah.
Because my daughter did her first degree and master's. My daughter went to Arthur Lockjack, and it's not cheap. The rent for a 1-bedroom studio, it's not cheap. It's $3,200, and you have to pay for July and August. otherwise you lose the apartment.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, well, we need to get to our poll because we're running out of time.
Yeah, let's do the poll. Let's do the poll.
Because
but we'd have to probably take it if we have a space after the news.
Yeah, because you brought up the issue of the change makers, we're going to do the change makers poll, okay?
Yeah. We don't you give them a song prominence and a song, so let's get it out of the way.
We walk the road with banners high, dreams of victory, kiss the
All
sky.
right, that's our poll.
But now the echoes start to fade. The change makers left the trade. Who picks the pieces when they fall? Who hears the whispers?
All right, so
start calling now.
Yeah, call in time.
And Andre, the simple answer to that is yes. And I did speak about it.
All right. So while we take your votes, because that's basically what we're into right now. Morning.
Sorry. This is Farhi trying to call to clear up a misconception. But since you're into the votes, I don't even know what the poll is. I'll have to talk to you another time because you all misconstrued my statement completely. I said the administration of UE did nothing for 9 years. Not the people, not the listeners, not your radio station. The people of UE, the administration, did nothing for 10 years. Okay? Thank you.
All right. Okay. No problem. Thanks very much.
Miguel Gonzalez says yes. Our question, of course, is do you think the change makers should reveal who they are? Miguel Gonzalez, yes. Annie Bunyan, yes. Marlon Motley, yes. DL, yes. Cheryl M, yes. Terrence Roach, yes. Suzanne Jessup, yes. Joyce Phillip, yes. Boy Bidesi, yes. Kazim Mohammed, yes. Julia Batiste, yes. Andre, yes.
All right. Caller, very quickly. What do you say?
Yes, they should reveal themselves.
All right.
Carol Guevara, yes. Diane Payne, yes. Everybody want to know the change makers, boy. Except the change makers.
Change makers want to stay anonymous. Right, so we're going up to the news. So the people on the WhatsApp, I will give you all the votes after, right? When
yes. So we'll do from Ava Smith after the news, right?
Yeah. And Zina, you can call back if we have a space there.
All right, so we're moving to the news at this point. So the 7 a.m. news is next.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
Good morning. This is your news update for Wednesday, 28th May 2025 on New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. I am Amanda Mitchell. The Ministry of Health is monitoring a new COVID-19 variant, NB.1.8.1, recently detected in China and now spreading in the United States. Health Minister Dr. Lakram Bodo, speaking on May 27th at the Hyatt Regency, Port of Spain, confirmed that the ministry is seeking technical guidance on the variant from its epidemiological division. NB.1.81 is a subvariant of Omicron JN1 and has been identified in international travelers arriving at U.S. airports, including those in New York, California, and Washington. The World Health Organization has listed it as a variant under monitoring due to early indications of increased transmissibility, but no evidence yet suggests it causes more severe illness. Symptoms remain consistent with other Omicron strains: sore throat, cough, fever, fatigue, and congestion. The Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce is urging newly elected Tobago MPs David Thomas, Tobago East, and Joel Sampson, Tobago West, to engage with key stakeholders and the Tobago House of Assembly, THA, to develop a comprehensive plan for revitalizing the island's tourism sector. Chamber President Curtis Williams, speaking on May 27th, emphasized the need for a unified approach. We are all singing from the same hymn book. The players must be serious and it must involve the people. Williams noted that Tobago's economy isn't a hard fix, but it requires clear policies and genuine political will from both the THA and central government. The THA, under Chief Secretary Farley Augustine, still owes $473 million to contractors, part of a massive debt inherited from the previous administration. Originally totaling $901 million, some $428 million has since been resolved or deemed ineligible for payment per an audit report. Stakeholders hope that with new leadership and dialogue, that Tobago's tourism and wider economy can find a renewed path forward. A targeted shooting linked to the well-known Maharaj family of R&J Celtec turned deadly on Tuesday, claiming the life of 21-year-old Salim Abdul, an employee of the family business. The attack occurred just before noon near the cross-crossing interchange in San Fernando. Abdul was driving a Toyota Hilux while his employer, Shane Maharaj, followed closely behind in an unlicensed Mercedes-Benz. Shortly before the shooting, the two reportedly switched vehicles, a move that may have saved Maharaj's life. Police believe the gunmen were targeting Maharaj but mistakenly fired at Abdul, who was struck by at least 3 bullets through the driver's side window. This marks the third violent attack involving the Maharaj family in 2 weeks. Police continue to investigate these escalating incidents, which suggest the family is being systematically targeted. Ken Foster, a man from Charford Court, Port of Spain, has been found not guilty of attempting to shoot former police officer and current Minister of Homeland Security Roger Alexander 23 years ago. Justice Hayden St. Clair Douglas, presiding over the judge-only trial, said he had serious doubts about the credibility of Alexander and other state witnesses. The alleged incident occurred on April 3, 2002, when Foster was accused of shooting at Alexander and officers Philip Forbes, Andrew Lawrence, and Victor Graham, and of possessing an illegal firearm and ammunition. Foster was also shot in the buttocks during the incident by Alexander. The judge ruled that the prosecution failed to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt, resulting in Foster's acquittal. You are listening to news on New Era TT Radio. In business news, the Energy Chamber of Trinidad and Tobago has warned that regulatory developments in New England, USA, could affect the country's liquefied natural gas, LNG, exports, highlighting the interconnected nature of global energy markets. In a blog post titled New York Wind Farms, Pipelines and Trinidad LNG, the Chamber noted that New England imported 0.3 billion cubic meters of LNG from Trinidad and Tobago in 2023, even though the US is the world's top LNG exporter. This reliance is due to local environmental opposition blocking natural gas pipeline development from producing regions like Pennsylvania to the northeast. Additionally, US maritime laws, Jones Act, prevent foreign-flagged LNG carriers from transporting cargo between US ports, making Trinidad's LNG an essential alternative for New England. However, this may soon change. Recent reports suggest renewed efforts to overcome pipeline opposition and the green-lighting of the Empire Wind project, which will add 810 megawatts of clean energy to the Northeast U.S. grid. These developments could reduce LNG demand from Trinidad, though exports to the U.S. currently account for only 3% of Trinidad's total LNG trade. The Chamber stressed that while the overall impact may be limited, this situation reflects how shifts in energy policy abroad can influence Trinidad and Tobago's energy sector. In international news, North Korea has condemned the U.S.'s proposed Golden Dome missile defense system, warning that it could transform outer space into a potential nuclear battleground and spark a global arms race. In a statement via state media, Pyongyang's foreign ministry labeled the plan as arrogant and self-righteous, accusing the U.S. of aggressively militarizing outer space. Analysts say North Korea likely views the system as a direct threat to its nuclear deterrent, prompting it to seek countermeasures. The North recently tested a hypersonic missile and passed a 2022 law enshrining its status as a nuclear state. China has also criticized the Golden Dome, expressing serious concern and warning it could undermine global strategic balance. This has been your news on New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. I'm Amanda Mitchell. The Breakfast Show continues with Wendell, Richard, and Sir Charles after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Join Sir Charles for the mid-morning mix and mingle, where good music, real talk, health, and family matters come together, and your voice is heard. Whether you're at work, on the go, or just taking a break, this is the perfect mix to keep you engaged, informed, and entertained. The mid-morning mix and mingle, weekdays, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Men, women, tired of the invasive, painful old methods of testing prostate and breasts?
The Institute of Health and Fitness Clinic and Wellness Center offers comprehensive and non-invasive diagnostic testing, which indicates the nature and extent of diseases and tests your nutritional levels. Our quick testing can identify early signs of problems by evaluating many of the bodily functions, such as male and female sexual function, gastrointestinal function, liver function, kidney function, thyroid function, heart and brain function, and also cancer testing. Results are comparable with other medical lab tests without the use of needles or embarrassing specimen cups, and is pain-free. We also offer all natural treatments. Visit us now at number 79 St. Vincent Street, Tunapuna, or call 492-7397 or 289-6363.
Mornings just got better. You're locked into Net Radio Breakfast Show, fueling your day with the best music and real talk.
Makes you want to do some dancing, huh? Everybody, welcome inside a brand new hour here on New Era TT Radio. And remember, you can get us, yes, you go to put it in your browser. Just put in New Era TT Radio and you'll see all the different platforms that we are on. And you can choose which one that you want to. But make sure wherever you are, you go back to our YouTube channel and you subscribe, because as Richard said, we're trying to reach 200,000 people, right? And yeah, we're so happy to be here with you. So let's see what's happening in the weather today now.
Good morning again, Trinidad and Tobago. This is your weather update for Wednesday, the 28th of May, 2025, from New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. Today, a few intervals of cloudiness and showers will likely interrupt sunshine over a few areas. There is also a low 20% chance of the odd thunderstorm, mainly over Trinidad. Tonight will be generally settled at first, with showers developing closer to midnight. We have important advisories for you today. Gusty winds and street flooding are likely in the event of heavy downpours, so please exercise caution if you encounter any heavy rainfall. Additionally, a significant concentration of Saharan dust is present in the atmosphere. Sensitive persons are advised to take the necessary precautions to protect their respiratory health. Temperature-wise, both Trinidad and Tobago can expect a maximum of 31 degrees Celsius today, The minimum will be 25 degrees Celsius in Trinidad and 26 degrees Celsius in Tobago. With humidity factored in, the heat index will make it feel like 37 degrees Celsius in Trinidad and 36 degrees Celsius in Tobago, so please stay hydrated throughout the day. Sea conditions are moderate with wave heights near 2 meters in open waters and below 1 meter in sheltered areas, though waters may occasionally become choppy. The sun rose this morning at 5:42 and will set at 6:24 this evening. For those planning maritime activities today, high tides in Port of Spain will occur at 4:14 this morning and 5:42 this afternoon, with low tides at 11:04 this morning and 10:57 tonight. In Scarborough, high tides will be at 3:54 this morning and 5:18 this afternoon, with low tides at 10:50 this morning and 10:41 tonight. This has been your weather update for today. Enjoy the sunshine when it appears, but be prepared for those interrupting showers and possible thunderstorms, especially over Trinidad. Remember to take precautions if you're sensitive to the significant Saharan dust concentration. From all of us at New Era TT Radio and M&E TV, have a wonderful Wednesday. Great news, Caribbean. The Breakfast Show is now on M&E TV, bringing you entertaining conversations, vital information, and influential perspectives throughout Trinidad and Tobago and across the Caribbean region. Catch us on Digicel Channel 20, Flow Channel 111, Amplia Channel 117, Blink Channel 109, Trico Channel 154, and Airlink Channel 10. The Breakfast Show connects with the Caribbean and Trinidad and Tobago like never before. We're now on M&E TV.
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now what are you waiting for?
So we are back, and of course it is the second hour of the Breakfast Show, and we'll be getting into our interview shortly with Assistant Superintendent Acting Avril Francis. So Officer Francis is already in backstage waiting to join the show. But before we get to that, we have to complete our poll and give you the results of our poll for this morning. So our poll this morning, of course, was and is, do you think the change makers should reveal who they are? So that's our poll this morning. Wendell, do we have any further votes?
Yes, we have quite a few actually. We have Ava Smith voting yes, Wayne Joseph from Ontario, yes, Cheryl Silly, yes, Trini Gets Fit, yes, Michael Robinson, yes. Lennox Francois, yes. Brent Hackshaw, yes. Far Rockaway, okay, went on a little rant. Josie Richardson, yes. Oh boy. Ingrid from Tucson says yes. Slick Money Grip, yes. Far Rockaway still on the rant. Beauty Culture, okay. All right. Alistair Hart says yes. Keith Clark says yes. And Noel says yes also. So those are votes up until 7:18, right on the dot. I don't know. Culture also says yes. Sir Charles, you have a vote? You have any votes?
Yeah, I have some vote. Of course, Pauline says yes, yes. Afia Lashley says yes. Terry Ann Peter says yes, yes. Captain Ron says yes. Black Pearl says no. Marcus Guy says yes. Mike Long Islander says yes. Mr. Billy says yes. And Jason Gordon says yes. And finally, Zena says yes.
All right. And just add Culture Cambridge to that, and that's it. We'll end it.
All right. So our poll this morning is, but you can see it on the screen, it's, do you think that the change makers should reveal who they are? And if you're now joining us and you don't know who the change makers are, well, they're not anonymous.
We don't know either.
They're an anonymous PNM group that has a lot of a PNM group, I'm about to say that.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know, Richard. It could be a group from anywhere, no?
Oh Lord, you want to blame the UNC for everything?
I never said that. I never called the UNC name, but I know the politics, you know.
You thought it. But anyway, the change makers, who they are being very critical of some of the decisions or lack of decisions that the PNM is making currently, even with their Senate picks. And of course, we have a song that's now immortalized.
It's going viral. Everything these days is going viral, right?
And we will play from time to time because we can. So that's it for our poll this morning. We had 40 people voting on the poll this morning. Of the 40 people that voted, 39 of you said yes, you do think the change makers should reveal who they are. And one person said, no, I don't really need to know. I just like the bacchanal. Paraphrase it.
Ron DeSantis Jr. squeezed in a no right down the end there.
So
Ron DeSantis, you're lucky because you're ardent fan, so we include you in the poll today.
Yeah, so it'll be 41 too. So 39 people saying yes and 2 people saying no. So 41 in all. So that's it for our poll this morning. And of course, at this point, we get into our Let's Talk segment. And this, of course, is where we will bring in our interviewee, Officer Francis. So good morning, Officer Francis, and welcome to the Breakfast Show.
Put on your mic.
Your mic is off. You just need to put it on. Yeah. Don't worry, I make that mistake all the time.
Good morning, Mr. Raghubar Singh and Mr. Stevens. Such happy souls. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. And good morning to the entire world listening and locked on.
And you know the entire world listening and locked on, eh?
I'm aware.
Good morning, Ms. Francis. And thanks for joining us. Acting Assistant Superintendent. Did we get that correct?
That's correct.
Oh, you're a couple steps away from Commissioner of Police.
And I'm all eager and waiting.
Wait, are you one of the finalists? Did you put in your hat, so to speak?
In my thoughts, but in reality, no.
You're just like us. We have a lot of thoughts.
We have a lot of thoughts too.
But no reality.
I'm donating my body to science just in case.
That's quite aware.
Good, right. God, yeah.
And Richard wants to live forever. So those are enough thoughts.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite ambitious of both of you all. I wish you luck in all your endeavors.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We just like to relax our guests because some people come on a little tense now. So we just like to relax our guests.
Nah,
I understand.
You're not really tense with us. We're good.
Yeah.
You're just hanging out. You're liming. So liming for the Trinis and the Caribbean people, hanging out for those of you in North America.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us this morning, Officer Francis. We appreciate it. I wanted to start off with the good news. I mean, a 32% decline in sex crimes against children, against minors, is really an incredible success feat on the part of the TTPS. And I assume the TTPS would have done some work in terms of getting that percentile down. And I don't know how much you can frame what the TTPS did in terms of making people more alert to that alarming crime that I mean, we have been on, talking on radio for years, and
Right.
that has always been one of our pet peeves and concerns that we would talk about from time to time. So I don't know if you could contextualize it for us.
I understand. The TTPS initiative will be done through two arms. That will be the community police and, of course, the Special Victims Department, for which I'm attached. And collectively, as two units, we combine our resources and we went out in the form of sensitizing through school programs, outreach in the communities, and where we would have had discussion outlining and educating persons, one, on the laws that govern sexual offenses against children, which primarily is the Children's Act. And outside of the Children's Act, have them know not only the offenses, but how to avoid those offenses, how to educate the children in our society. And primarily, it's really the work of the Special Victims Department and the Community Police Department. We are not saying other arms of the police service didn't do it, but we are saying primarily those are the two front runners in the education of that information.
ASP Francis, give us a sense first of what is the Victim and Witness Support Unit? What do you do there? And so give us a sense of who can come to that department and the kind of things that happens under your ambit.
All right. So you said Victim and Witness is Special Victims Department. Perhaps you're thinking about yes.
All right. So it's two separate arms.
It's two different arms. Our Special Victims Department is the police arm. The Victim and Witness Support Unit is the civilian arm that works alongside us for the psychological intervention of a victim.
Oh, okay. All right. So then I totally got confused. So tell us, what is the Special Victims unit?
So the Special Victims Department is an amalgamation of the Child Protection Unit, which was created in 2015, and we have the Gender-Based Violence Unit, which was created in 2022. And we have part of that Special Victims Department, a pilot project of a Sexual Offenses Unit. Those three units combined, what we do, we are involved in the policing of, in one arm, where children are concerned, any offenses against a child, and some of the offenses are sexual penetration, sexual touching, engaging a child in sexual activity, sexual grooming, sexual luring, and so on. We have the Gender-Based Violence Unit, which tells us any offenses where it's cohabitational relationship, intimate partner relationship. We also investigate that, and of course, sexual offenses, any offenses against an adult. So you come into our units, which are based in 6 regions, and you can make a report, and it would be investigated. Apart from coming into the unit, we have the Children's Authority, and we have other hotline who persons may make report to, and they will have it transferred to our end, and we will initiate that investigation as well.
So outside of the reduction that you would have seen with the children, have you seen a reduction in other cohabitational gender issues? And why I ask that is because the most 2 recent murders, I think, went in that direction. The one where the young boy, the 16-year-old boy, allegedly murdered the adult who was abusing his mother, and then most recently the one where the husband was murdered by allegedly by the spouse.
That's one was yesterday. Yes.
Yesterday, yes. Yeah. And it points to gender violence.
Correct. It points to gender violence. Unfortunately, we have seen no reduction in gender violence issues because, as you're aware, within the past couple of years, we have seen an increase in gender violence issues. While we can allude to some sex in the reduction in the children issues, we are seeing an increase in the gender violence issues.
Okay. I mean, well, that's what the data is showing. I mean, I suppose that's out there. The police can only do so much, the TTPS, in terms of what is under their ambit, and of course that kind of intersects with other agencies in terms of dealing with that particular issue, which is an issue that's difficult, because you're talking about getting into people's houses, and how do you tackle dysfunctional families, and how do you become a bridge to calm those kinds of interactions? Pretty difficult. But you know what I wanted to ask you, in terms of working in a department like that, the special victims department, how draining is it from an energy and emotional point of view? Because you must be privy to all manner of horror stories that sometimes might surprise even you and horrify even you. How, as a professional, do you navigate that?
And that's a good question. And first and foremost, Mr. Raghubar Singh, you have to love what you do. The passion for the job is critical. It's critical in areas like these. That level of emotional intelligence, that level of having a great network around you as an officer. When you come into these, and you're correct, they are really, in some instances, or most instances, horror story. Now, outside of having a good foundation as an officer, having that level of empathy, we have our social welfare unit. Our social welfare unit is where we have trained psychologists and social workers whom we can go to under the disguise of confidentiality, and we can go there and, for want of a better word, vent. We can go there and make ourselves whole again if anything is affecting us. But it is not, there is no blueprint for this. There is no particular blueprint, and we also have training. So we would get persons to come in and train us in any field that would give us additional coping mechanism to deal with reports of this nature.
Yeah.
So I would imagine
that self-care is part of the process, and that exists in terms of understanding me, because I'm just thinking of it. I used to be in an environment where I used to advise people a lot, and at the end of the day, you really are drained. People hearing and interfacing with people's problems is draining.
It is. It is.
Draining. People may not think it, but it is.
No, it is. I agree with you.
It drains you emotionally and energy, and you really need to reset sometimes.
Yes, correct.
Well, and could you imagine what the victims of these things go through? Is there a support system for these victims? I know that you have the other unit called the Victim and Witness Support Section. Is it that you all work hand in hand with them, so you all will inform them and they could go now and counsel some of the victims of these crimes?
So we have two arms that we primarily use. We have the Children's Authority, and we have the Victim and Witness Support Unit. So both roles are different, but yet we all intertwine. So the Children's Authority, where we have victims, and we are talking about children and child under the age of 18, where we have victims whose cognitive ability, whether it be trauma as well, we seek the Children's Authority to do what we call an assessment. We can also use the Children's Authority to do what we call a forensic interview, where they have trained professionals to interview these children in a manner that the police would not have at their disposal. They would work hand in hand for the purpose of evidencing the information that the child wants to bring out. But remember, they would have trained personnel. Outside of the trained personnel, we have the Victim and Witness Support Unit, which in itself is a support for victims of crime. And where trauma is concerned, oftentimes we need to bring the victim up to a point where the person becomes comfortable to speak. And more so when the time comes for that victim to give evidence in court, that added layer of support, that psychological layer of support, where that child now feels comfortable in giving that evidence. So we have two arms, the Children's Authority and the Victim and Witness Support Unit.
Let me ask this question, and it involves something that I had to do recently. I recently visited a school with a parent whose son was allegedly being bullied, right? And I decided I would accompany the parent so that they could speak with the staff of the school. How much would the TTPS or your unit, or even the other units, interact with these school guidance people, the people in the schools who are charged with that responsibility? Because I'll tell you what, when I went there, the child was being bullied, being called all kind of names and so on, only to find out that the person who was doing it had problems, was also being bullied. How could the TTPS get this kind of information and work with the schools before it escalates into something as big as we have seen otherwise?
The agency that is really responsible, although we have 5 units right now dealing with children bullying, we have the cyberbullying, where the cyber unit gets into the school. We have our unit that deals with bullying, where we are looking at in the realm of sexual nature. Then we have the community police, and the community police is really the leaders in this. And the community police has the initiative where they're going to schools. So they work closer with the parent teachers council. They work closer with the social services in the school, and they keep constant lectures with the school body, with the children in the school. And oftentimes they call us to partner with them if they want to discuss a particular topic. So what is happening in the school? We know we have the guidance counselor, we have the social officer in the school, we also have the health and safety officer. Oftentimes, when the principals of these schools are hearing of the bullying, they often try to deal with it themselves. And obviously, we can understand that, because you have to be in control of your own domain. What they will do from time to time, they will partner with us if they believe there's a particular area that is more prevalent in the school.
So that you all will go into the school and do a lecture or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that intervention by the TTPS via the community police, does that include speaking to schools about conflict resolution and things like that? Because you have very public school fights that make social media sometimes. And even though I know school fighting has been around since Zena was a child, which is one of our listeners, and so that's a real long time, and so, but of course they're more publicized because you have cameras all over the place, people taping and stuff like that. And so I don't know if the community police have taken any interest in de-escalating the materializing of those kinds of fights in schools, and particularly at-risk schools who are more likely to have fighting taking place if they talk about things like that.
The nice thing about the community police section, their work doesn't limit them to not engaging other stakeholders, So what the community police does, their remit extends to any other program that they believe will be beneficial. Because one of the things, and you said a bully, we cannot just keep speaking. There are times that we need to get in. We need to treat with our child, because there are probably some home factors, social factors that are affecting that child. So it will take more than just having a discussion in the school. But part of the arm of these community police is to identify these persons, these children, and work with them closer with other social resources.
Right. So it's like a network of agencies that have a kind of synergistic linkage in terms of dealing with these issues.
Correct. And that network, I can tell you, it goes from as far as the MyLad program, the Conservation Corps program, because one of the things that we have to recognize, a child may not be intellectually inclined in relation to academic, but that child may be also good at it with his or her hands. And we have to find a way to maintain a level of education that the child can cope with, but at the same time, find a program that would build that child's self-esteem, create a self-worth in that child, that he or she would go out there and that whole issue of bullying will no longer exist.
I am pleasantly surprised, Officer Francis, that all of this sort of integration is taking place behind the scenes, because I had no idea. It's not something that's publicized, at least in a way that I have seen, that there is that level of sophistication of integration of different agencies in dealing with the problems in our schools. So I have to admit, I'm pleasantly surprised to hear this information coming out this morning.
And let me give you a perfect example. While now we have a unit in Tobago, right? And while in Trinidad, we do not emphasize too much on the lectures because we really work alongside community police. Our school intervention unit under the Special Victims Department in Tobago is doing a wider range of initiatives. And as recent as probably 2 weeks ago, we had entities, NGOs coming in and working with our department where they have 3 layers. So they have discussion with the school parent teachers body. They have discussion with the children themselves, and then they have discussions with the teaching fraternity. So we have 3 layers of discussion. And when we have those layers of discussion, you have different stakeholders joining that discussion. So you find that even more so now in Tobago, there is significant data to suggest the intervention is working in a proper way.
Yeah. I mean, that's interesting to know because a lot of the times when you see things, you know, we are a hypercritical society.
Yes.
So you see things taking place in schools and you're like, the systems aren't working or whatever decisions people judge situations on. So it's really productive to know that the TTPS is not sleeping on this issue.
No, we are not.
And that you are treating with it in different ways with other stakeholders. I think that's really valuable information.
Yeah, and that probably goes towards the reduction that we are now seeing.
Correct.
But let me ask this question, and it goes back to someone raised something in the chat earlier on concerning gender-based violence. Now,
right?
Do you think that there's still an inherent bias against men who report violence from their spouse, their partner, their female partner, or even in the case of same-sex relationships? Do you think that there's an inherent bias still in the TTPS against people like that?
I would not allude to the TTPS because ultimately we are professionals. I would say it's a cultural thing. And within the recent years, even up to when we were talking about our 16 days of activism last year, we said that one of our initiatives going forward is to break that stigma that a man cannot be a victim of domestic violence. And once a woman comes in with a story, she ultimately is speaking the truth and she is the victim. So the TTPS has recognized that. But I would not say that the TTPS has that knowledge, that notion, and we display that notion. I'm saying it's a cultural thing, it's a societal thought, and we are working towards opening the barriers, removing the barriers, where men can now feel comfortable to make reports of that nature and get the same justice that a female victim would get.
And how would the TTPS, or how has the TTPS been treated with even same-sex issues?
So same-sex issues, I can tell you, and that's a work in progress. I would not fool you. It's not prevalent. I can tell you if we have reports of that nature, it may be a 1%. I wouldn't say it was never reported, but we are trying to work with entities, and those entities, like, for instance, where we're talking about removing the bias against men. I had discussions sometime early this year with the Single Fathers Association to work alongside him, so he would be our partner in going forward, so men would feel comfortable, whether it starts through him, and then of course, it will be through us. Same-sex relationship, I can tell you, one of the things that we encourage, if a person feels daunted by making a report in the station, they could come to our unit. We do not display that kind of bias in the unit, and we embrace every and anybody making a report.
Yeah, that's also valuable information for people to know watching the program this morning.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of because sometimes people feel intimidated to come to a police station, and you know they will have preconceptions that it's going to be difficult. They're going to meet a hostile police officer. You know, they have all manner of misconceptions, maybe very real.
Yeah.
And meet a police officer who's very, not best at customer service, and it becomes a difficult interaction.
Yes.
So you have all of those things that people navigate when dealing with the TTPS. But I mean,
especially if a police officer could tell a gentleman, this is not a support group, when he came into the station to support his nephew. I mean, that video went. I don't know if you saw that video, Officer Francis. where a police officer is videotaped telling a gentleman who came to the station that this is not a support group.
I saw that video, unfortunately, when I was on Beyond the Tape on Friday, and as I said to Mr. Basant, we at the TTPS will not bury our heads in the sand. In every organization, there are employees that may need more training than the other, but we have generalized our training in the form of customer service. And in our present strategic plan, the commissioner in his wisdom has increased the outreach for customer service internally within our organization. I will continue and forever apologize to members of the public for such disservice, but I can tell you, it's always a give and take because there's a large number of officers within the TTPS. I can assure you still gives high quality customer service. But for those who have chosen to do the opposite, we continue to work with them. We continue to train them in customer service. And we really hope one day we would eradicate this stigma of bad service to the public.
Because do you accept too that police officers can be having their issues at their home also too?
I accept that.
In terms of that kind of reaction, if you go further, if you investigate further, you may find that that person has some issue maybe in their personal life.
And I accept that. To each his own. We all have our personal difficulties, and hence the reason the service have so many arms. But you can have so many services available. But how do we get our officers to go there and open up and seek that kind of assistance? But I agree with you that there are issues amongst some officers that we need to target and help our officers.
Yeah. Are you willing to take some calls, Officer Francis?
I am.
All right, so we can open our lines at this point. And of course, you should know the number. It's 281-1315. Of course, if you're new to the program, where the hell were you all the time? but the number is 281-1315, 281-1315.
We're not taking any reports on the show, but you can ask questions, generic questions, all right? Yeah, we're not taking any reports.
Yeah, I noticed that I think that the sex registry is now online. Is that correct?
Yes, so it was launched officially yesterday. And that registry is under the supervision of the Criminal Records Department. So that would simply mean that the court itself would work closely with that arm of the police service, giving the information as to who are the offenders that we will now populate the registry with.
Yeah. So when you say it's online, is it easily accessible to members of the public now?
Yes, it is. It is easily accessible. And that is the sole purpose of persons feeling comfortable, not walking into a station as versus submitting an online document. And that submission simply means that in a neighborhood where you live, you have the right to inquire. You have the right to know as a citizen, persons in your neighborhood that is on that registry. And I can understand why, because you're looking at knowledge will cause you now, and we don't want stigmatization. We don't want that kind of in society where people are now being chastised. But we want the knowledge out there so that as parents, you would be more proactive in relation to your children.
But you can't help from the time you put up a list. You're going to get stigmatization.
Yeah, you would.
That's how humans operate.
And you're correct.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we have a caller there. Caller, morning to you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
One thing about the sexual offenders registry that I guess most of the public is not aware. There was the recent repatriation of 17 of our nationals.
Correct.
To come, right? And some of them were sexual offenders. I heard elsewhere on other frequencies that people are saying that with regard to those persons, there should be a greater sensitization by the TTPS. And I think the question was asked in the press yesterday. I would want to say that in terms of offenses committed in other jurisdictions, people have to realize it will be difficult for the TTPS to highlight these persons because of the fact that once offenses have been committed in other jurisdictions, sometimes it may be sealed in that particular jurisdiction, it will not be able to so easily be shared with the TTPS. Whatever, when the person is repatriated here and then they commit an offense of the similar nature to what they committed overseas, that would then make them be able to be put on our radar. But my question is this, right? In terms of the ankle monitoring system for offenders, is there any push or a move by when such offenders are granted bail, particularly the ones with respect to domestic violence? Is there a thought of widening that particular measure to have these people electronically monitored in order to assist in the enforcement of what people consider a piece of paper to bring some bit of measure of safety and support to the victims? And would you support that, particularly in the instances where there is the interim order and not yet the final order? Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Paula.
It's quite an effort, but let me just try to put some context to what he was asking, and if you all got the same thing before I answer. So he alluded to the fact that we had a lot of nationals being deported within recent times. He said that on those lists, there are persons who have been charged with sexual offenses abroad. He also alluded to the fact that there is, because of the issue of seal, the information will not be known to Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And then he went to our domestic violence and he said, because of the ankle monitoring system, is it that he wanted to find out if persons who were deported, charged with sexual offenses, now committing offenses in Trinidad of that nature, is it that he wants to recommend or he wants to know if I'm in agreement that those persons should be placed with ankle monitors?
Well, what should they?
He kind of was talking, he kind of went into ankle monitors from a domestic situation, so it got a little blurry for me whether he meant that also for sex offenders, and for people coming back who are deportees. Even though I'm not so sure how that works, because I think the sex registry is and you could correct me if I'm wrong, Officer Francis. My interpretation is that the sex registry is for offenses committed within the jurisdiction of Trinidad and Tobago. You have been convicted in Trinidad and Tobago, and therefore you can be in a registry. If you committed that offense in Pennsylvania or in Washington, it doesn't automatically get you on the sex registry. It has to be an offense adjudicated upon here. But I don't know if there is some leeway, or you could clarify that.
And I'll be honest with you guys, I am not all too familiar with it, but I want to say that I know for a fact we have our Interpol and we have other agencies that connect us to information in an official way to the world, right? I know for a fact when somebody comes back, their criminal record comes back with them, so we are aware. I want to believe that if you're an offender abroad, you can be placed on our registry, but I can get that information and supply it to you all at a later date just for confirmation. But I'm saying I want to believe that whether you committed offenses here or abroad, you can be placed on the registry. As for the ankle monitoring system, there are categories of offenses that will allow you to be placed as a person who the court will now place an ankle monitoring on us. So it's not for us to say what we think who should be on the ankle monitoring, but there are categories of persons outlined in law that system is susceptible to.
Yeah, and the court is the one that orders it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning to you.
We have a caller.
Yeah, hi.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
caller.
hi. Morning, everyone. I just would like to know, what is the two questions. One, are you all connected to the community policing arm that a more preemptive presence in community? I don't know how to say preventative. And then the other one is, what is the training of the officers in the unit? I forget the name. Do you all do gender training, psychology? Is there courses or ongoing courses? How you all go about the training of people in your unit? Yeah.
But one of them, Officer Francis, did indicate that there was a great partnership with community policing.
Yes.
From the outset. So that
Yeah.
question was answered earlier, Prof.
Yeah.
But the issue of training, what kind of ongoing training do officers in the Special Victims Department get?
So we do 3 layers of training. So as you're aware, we have the Police Academy, our accredited body in the TTPS that is recognized with any form of training in any field whatsoever. So we start there. Outside of that training, within our stakeholders realm, so we have the judiciary, we have the Children's Authority, we have the gender units and stuff outside there. Any other arm outside of the TTPS, they will do training for their staff, and they oftentimes invite us to those type of training. That training is to ensure that kind of cohesiveness with the partners out there. And the third type of training that we will do is any training that we within the department recognizes that we would want. We can either engage a commissioner, we can engage a stakeholder to offer that training, whether it be free or at a cost. Some of the training that we are exposed to, we are talking about how to investigate matters involving children, how to deal with human trafficking involving children. What are the signs that would allow us to understand sexual luring, sexual communication, sexual grooming, different layers of the offenses. And then, of course, we will deal with, and I remember just this morning, I was looking at my email. We have training that's speaking to now peer resolution, counseling for children who are perpetrators of offenses. So there are so many different layers of training. And then we do our internal training where we as officers went in our personal way and we did our, we did degrees in social work or counseling or whatever. So we encourage to build internal capacity. We, amongst ourselves, we will formalize any kind of workshop, and we look to homicide for the persons who deal with trauma. So we ourselves in the Special Victims Department, we would seek our internal partners amongst us with particular set of skills, and we would encourage them to partner with us to do some form of training as well.
I want to thank you for saying the word homicide and not homicide.
Officer Francis, I would just like to ask you a question because there was an article in the Express this week. Actually, it was the editorial in the Express on Monday, I think it was. And while they were commending the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and all the groups involved for, yes, the drop, they had identified that the reports of sex crimes were increasing over the years. But over that particular, while you have an increase in reports, you had fewer arrests taking place, and they were questioning why was that, and why are we seeing so fewer arrests, persons being arrested at this point in time.
As recent as yesterday, there was a start, and that was one of the questions posed to me. And a lot of things that society may not know, and I cannot discuss much of it on air because of one, it's the nature, and law debars me from speaking about issues involving children, right? But I'll tell you, there are some issues where, and one simple issue is our JIPA. It is the new amendment to the criminal proceeding, and one of the components is that tells us a child under the age of 14 has to be assessed by the Children's Authority before we interview that child. Because of the workload and the resources of both agencies, you can understand that there is a delay there. Outside of that, we oftentimes have third party, most instances, is third party making the report. So a child does not make the report to the police. The child makes the report to the counselor, to the teacher. A mother take her doctor to the hospital to be medically examined, and the doctor unearths that she's pregnant, teenage pregnancy. The doctor has a duty now to report it to us. So because of the many layers of how the information comes to us, that too poses a challenge. Then we're looking at the medical. A medical must be done in a sexual offense. Again, we have no control over our district medical officers as well as the medical officers attached to the Children's Authority. So there's a lot of issues that may stymie or slow down the process. And then over the age of 14, we have children who have chosen not to work with the police, not to cooperate with the police, to engage us to get the evidence. So the law does not give us the authority to medically examine a child who refuses to be medically examined if a child chooses not to give any evidence. So we have a crime, but we don't have the evidence to continue that crime. So there's a lot of delay that causes us to not manage these arrests in a timely manner.
But one minute, Wendell. So and so we have identified those clogs in the wheel. What are we doing now to improve that situation so that because that means people also who should be arrested, who should be before the courts, and are outside there walking around free. What are we doing to fix those situations?
And that was the same kind of question I was going to ask. Why haven't we been able to fix that? I mean, I watch all these crime shows on TV,
right.
And they compel parents that the child must be examined, must give you know what I mean? They have laws to deal with those situations. Why don't we have laws?
Well, the law, unfortunately, one of the things, and that simple statement you raised there, Mr. Stevens, we have the convention. The United Nations has 51 clause of the rights of a child. And that convention speaks to the child having the right to protect his or her body by refusing a medical examination. I just added the latter part about refusing but protecting that child's body. So if the child says no, that is a right that the child has to be afforded. We cannot go against the right of a child, right? So what we are doing now, we are having discussions with the Insurance Authority, the Judiciary, the DPP. So we want to revisit all our laws. We are currently in discussion and revisiting our laws to see some of the gaps that is presently existing and how we can close those gaps. But it's not an overnight process. It's a work in progress.
Yeah. And you're always going to come up against things like that, those kind of conventions, UN conventions and stuff like that. You always have to look at that broader landscape in terms of how you have your local laws tailored to still not break those conventions that we may be signatories to.
We are signatories too. Yeah.
Children is a very complex issue when it comes to the law and on how you deal with children.
Well, one piece of advice before we close off, Ms. Francis, is that the Corporate Communications Unit can, in fact, use this interview because I think you've cleared up a lot of issues. You've been very articulate. You've been very informative. This is an interview that could be used continuously by your Corpcom unit.
And I know both you and Mr. Raghubar Singh will make that representation on my part.
I'll be sending it to Ms. Archie.
That is a diplomatic way of saying, leave me out of that.
Don't pour water in my mouth, please.
All right, but thank you very much, Officer Assistant Superintendent of Police.
Avril Francis. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. It was really
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me. And I must say you have started my day extremely well. I will keep smiling for the entire day. And I allude my smile to both gentlemen, Mr. Stephen and Mr. Raghubar Singh.
Well, you could call me Wendy. I know about that one day. All right.
Goodbye, gentlemen.
Thank you. Have a good day. Have a fantastic day.
Bye-bye.
All right. So that was Acting Superintendent, Assistant Superintendent Avril Francis of the Special Victims Department. And speaking with us this morning. An interesting conversation, actually, in terms of in what the TTPS is doing. And certainly was an eye-opener for me in terms of a lot of what they have accomplished and accomplishing behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But we can't really talk too much because it's 8 o'clock on the dot and we get lots of buffing and cussing. I don't know. You see Wendell and Sir Charles. Oh God, Lord! When you see me late with the news, you know what? Let me shut up. Oh,
yeah, that's good.
The news you need, the clarity you deserve. Local, regional, global. This is Net Radio News Now.
Good morning. This is your news update for Wednesday, 28th May 2025 on New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. I am Amanda Mitchell. The Ministry of Health is monitoring a new COVID-19 variant, NB.1.8.1, recently detected in China and now spreading in the United States. Health Minister Dr. Lakram Bodo, speaking on May 27th at the Hyatt Regency, Port of Spain, confirmed that the ministry is seeking technical guidance on the variant from its epidemiological division. NB.1.81 is a subvariant of Omicron JN1 and has been identified in international travelers arriving at U.S. airports, including those in New York, California, and Washington. The World Health Organization has listed it as a variant under monitoring due to early indications of increased transmissibility, but no evidence yet suggests it causes more severe illness. Symptoms remain consistent with other Omicron strains: sore throat, cough, fever, fatigue, and congestion. The Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce is urging newly elected Tobago MPs David Thomas, Tobago East, and Joel Sampson, Tobago West, to engage with key stakeholders and the Tobago House of Assembly, THA, to develop a comprehensive plan for revitalizing the island's tourism sector. Chamber President Curtis Williams, speaking on May 27th, emphasized the need for a unified approach. We are all singing from the same hymn book. The players must be serious and it must involve the people. Williams noted that Tobago's economy isn't a hard fix, but it requires clear policies and genuine political will from both the THA and central government. The THA, under Chief Secretary Farley Augustine, still owes $473 million to contractors, part of a massive debt inherited from the previous administration. Originally totaling $901 million, some $428 million has since been resolved or deemed ineligible for payment per an audit report. Stakeholders hope that with new leadership and dialogue, that Tobago's tourism and wider economy can find a renewed path forward. A targeted shooting linked to the well-known Maharaj family of R&J Celtech turned deadly on Tuesday, claiming the life of 21-year-old Salim Abdul, an employee of the family business. The attack occurred just before noon near the cross-crossing interchange in San Fernando. Abdul was driving a Toyota Hilux while his employer, Shane Maharaj, followed closely behind in an unlicensed Mercedes-Benz. Shortly before the shooting, the two reportedly switched vehicles, a move that may have saved Maharaj's life. Police believe the gunmen were targeting Maharaj but mistakenly fired at Abdul, who was struck by at least 3 bullets through the driver's side window. This marks the third violent attack involving the Maharaj family in 2 weeks. Police continue to investigate these escalating incidents, which suggest the family is being systematically targeted. Ken Foster, a man from Charford Court, Port of Spain, has been found not guilty of attempting to shoot former police officer and current Minister of Homeland Security Roger Alexander 23 years ago. Justice Hayden St. Clair Douglas, presiding over the judge-only trial, said he had serious doubts about the credibility of Alexander and other state witnesses. The alleged incident occurred on April 3, 2002, when Foster was accused of shooting at Alexander and officers Philip Forbes, Andrew Lawrence, and Victor Graham, and of possessing an illegal firearm and ammunition. Foster was also shot in the buttocks during the incident by Alexander. The judge ruled that the prosecution failed to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt, resulting in Foster's acquittal. You are listening to news on New Era TT Radio. In business news, the Energy Chamber of Trinidad and Tobago has warned that regulatory developments in New England, USA, could affect the country's liquefied natural gas, LNG, exports, highlighting the interconnected nature of global energy markets. In a blog post titled New York Wind Farms, Pipelines and Trinidad LNG, the Chamber noted that New England imported 0.3 billion cubic meters of LNG from Trinidad and Tobago in 2023, even though the US is the world's top LNG exporter. This reliance is due to local environmental opposition blocking natural gas pipeline development from producing regions like Pennsylvania to the northeast. Additionally, US maritime laws, Jones Act, prevent foreign-flagged LNG carriers from transporting cargo between US ports, making Trinidad's LNG an essential alternative for New England. However, this may soon change. Recent reports suggest renewed efforts to overcome pipeline opposition and the green lighting of the Empire Wind project, which will add 810 megawatts of clean energy to the Northeast U.S. grid. These developments could reduce LNG demand from Trinidad, though exports to the U.S. currently account for only 3% of Trinidad's total LNG trade. The Chamber stressed that while the overall impact may be limited, this situation reflects how shifts in energy policy abroad can influence Trinidad and Tobago's energy sector. In international news, North Korea has condemned the U.S.'s proposed Golden Dome missile defense system, warning that it could transform outer space into a potential nuclear battleground and spark a global arms race. In a statement via state media, Pyongyang's foreign ministry labeled the plan as arrogant and self-righteous, accusing the U.S. of aggressively militarizing outer space. Analysts say North Korea likely views the system as a direct threat to its nuclear deterrent, prompting it to seek countermeasures. The North recently tested a hypersonic missile and passed a 2022 law enshrining its status as a nuclear state. China has also criticized the Golden Dome, expressing serious concern and warning it could undermine global strategic balance. This has been your news on New Era TT Radio and M&E TV. I'm Amanda Mitchell. The Breakfast Show continues with Wendell, Richard, and Sir Charles after this short break.
That was news now. Stay informed with New Era TT Radio, Net Radio.
Advertise with us on New Era TT Radio, the fastest growing streaming platform for talk in Trinidad and Tobago. Audio and video ads welcome. Elevate your brand with us. Connect with us at newerattradio@yahoo.com or call us at 299-5156. Now what are you waiting for?
S&H Rumbox, 137 Western Main Road, St. James, for all your retail and wholesale needs for alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages. Call us at 686-0599 or visit us at 137 Western Main Road, St. James. S&H Rumbox, drinking out of the box. Of course, we are in the last 4 minutes of the show as we close off at 8:15 a.m. this morning. Interesting interview with Officer Francis.
Yeah.
Very pleasant officer to speak with.
Yes,
so
yes.
I really enjoyed that interview, and I thought she has a lot of information, and she's very articulate in terms of giving out that information and what's happening in the TTPS within the sphere. I thought it was pretty interesting.
You have to have a passion for the job. But she did message me, though, after the show and said, our current legislation does not allow for nationals who were deported and have convictions for sexual offenses to be placed on the sexual
that's what I was
registry.
thinking, because I was thinking the registry is purely about convictions within the Trinidad and
within the jurisdiction. So she said to make sure and let the public know that.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know if everybody are actually fans of registries, because despite your best efforts, it does lead to stigmatization. It
Yes.
does. It does. And I mean, you have all manner of offenses because you have offenses listed on the books that may be fine. But for example, somebody, there are a variety of offenses that could get you listed. And that's on the registry, and I don't know that the registry, I haven't looked at the registry, but I don't know if the registry actually says what offense it is. Maybe it does.
Right.
So people will have better information, but it's online now. Yeah. And I know the police were cautioning not to use it for mischief or something like that. Yes.
Yeah. But you know that's going to happen, right?
once it's online, it's online.
Yep.
Once information is out, it's out.
Yep. That issue of the new strain of the Omicron is Omicron. That's a little worrying, though. That information coming out there is a little worrying because, as Cheryl Henry is asking again, she hope they don't start back that you must get a PCR test before traveling. Because Lord, that was stressful. I think I did about
I don't think so,
10 of those things.
I think this is a variant that it says, at least part of the story that says that there is no evidence yet. Well, there's no evidence that it is making you severely sick. Because remember, it's going to mutate and continue to mutate and continue to mutate. When we had the doctor on, what was her name again? Oh my goodness, why can't I remember it off the top of my head now? And we've interviewed her so many times. Yes, I know who you're talking about, though. I'm seeing her right now. Yeah, I'm seeing her. Just her name escapes me right at this second. I know it's nothing to do with old age. It's just that. God, that's where Zena going. Yeah, Zena.
Defensive. Number 19.
You would have interviewed her too, I think, Sir Charles, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't. That was only on the breakfast show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But you really know my
Ramla Khan.
Yes.
Ramla Khan.
Yeah.
Ramla Khan.
Ramla Khan?
Yeah, it could be that, yes.
I think it's Ramla Khan.
Yeah. So, and of course, we have a special interview lined up tomorrow. Wendell, you want to reveal the news of who we have tomorrow?
Should we?
Go ahead.
All right.
We have
the Honorable Minister of Defense. We have the Honorable Minister of Defense, Wayne Sturge, Member of Parliament for South.
He'll be joining us tomorrow on the breakfast show. Yeah, he'll be joining us tomorrow on the breakfast show. So that should be an interesting interview. He's coming to live on the breakfast show tomorrow morning, virtually. So we're going to have some conversation with the Minister of Defense tomorrow. So that should be an interesting interview to watch. And
we'll probably start the show with him doing the dance, the scant.
All right, we gotta go, guys.
It ends our week.
Morning, Patsy Paul Garcia from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
We gotta go.
This is when we wrap it up on the breakfast show. And of course, have a fantastic day, whatever you do. Remember to smile and laugh and great for your health.
Banners high, dreams of victory.
You're not saying goodbye, Wendell. Okay,
but now the echoes start to fade. The change makers left the trade.
Keep on neweradio.com.
Hey, what's the song? Hey.